I love it. I know I've been haven't been around too much this past few days, so yeah, I hadn't even seen like the Easter icon update and this update. That's man, you guys rock. So how's everyone doing? It's been I guess 2 weeks, right? I missed last week because of I was just on a few day ski trip with some old friends of mine, so I had to I was out Wednesday flying. It's a forum now. Cool. Yeah, I need to take a little time and poke around, see what's new. All right. As always, if anyone wants to talk or anything, feel free. I'll accept any invitations. Cool. What's new in Explodinary 2.1? You maybe messaged me about this. I'm sorry. I'm behind on messages too. I'm totally slacking. Um, cool. Nice. Well, howdy. Cool. We'll have to give it a whirl in a sometime soon. Do you have any other new milestones coming out, or will 2.1 be it for a bit? We could set up a play session for that next week or something. Oh, you're just testing 2.2. Oh my gosh! All right, you're way ahead of me. Cool. Yeah, I'm down to play some next week. Get the server set up and all that. So I should be. As I said, I was out last week on a short little trip with friends, but I should be around for at least the next month or two. So hopefully, no more random Wednesday misses. So anyway, yeah, today will just be another chill day. I am I've been working basically nonstop on the 1.7.20 update, but it is still not quite ready to go yet. Um, I can show you a few new things, I guess, while we're here. So again, for anyone who doesn't know, the 1.7.20 update is basically just this kind of big giant reorganization update, basically getting everything ready for kind of 1.8. I'll show you the change log, which is ever growing. All right, here we are. There's a bottom of it somewhere. Oh, there we are. Okay. So this is, yeah, it's a lot of new random stuff. It's like 2 pages worth of random stuff, but one of these days I will actually finish it, and then we can, I can start helping people like update their mods and things like that. But it's a very exciting update for me, like just in terms of like reorganizing and cleaning things up and just making the engine like nice and shiny and and understandable. Like one cool thing is. There's just like other, if you're, setting up servers or just nerding out scripting stuff, we finally have a help command. Yay! So if you're just like running Bomb Squad or Ballistica or whatever on the command line, so there's several new options here. For one, the help is a new option, so you can actually like see what you can do. Let's see, 1.7.20. There's a new little thing I added, for instance, which is this C option. So you can use Bomb Squad to basically just run a Python command, which is pretty handy if you're setting up any automated stuff like documentation generators or like random server stuff or things like that. Sometimes it's nice to be able to just do like hey Bomb Squad, like run that Python and then exit. So Yeah, this is like, if you're used to working with regular Python, you can do that. I copied the exact same argument from Python. So, if you do like Python 3 command, that does the exact same thing. So previously, to do this kind of like scripty stuff, you had to use, there was this like exec arg, which is still there. But if you do use exec, the one big difference is it runs this like within the game. So you see, like, if I do Ballistica E print 123, now it's going to launch the game and then print 123 like from within the game. So that's actually still useful if you want to do things, like launch the game and run a particular, like kick off a particular mini game or something like that. But there's a lot of cases where you don't actually want to like spin up the whole game and have it stay running. You just want to do like a simple command and then leave. So anyway, that's what that is. What else is there? You can also now like override the config directory that the game uses just from the command line or the data directory. So it used to be like the game is very particular about like it expects BA data to exist in like the directory you're running the game from. But now that's like completely disconnected. So you can just like run, I could do something like Ballistica core data dir, like my stupid data, stuff like this. So where this might be useful for server owners and people, if you have like different sets of data, you want to run like one of the binaries with a different set of data and stuff like that. Or you can also override the config dir if you want to like different sets of configs. It'd be like config dir, my stupid config. Or also the mods dir. You can, I just added this like the other day. So you can override the mods dir if you just want to like have a different set of mods that you're using temporarily or something like that. So yeah, so that's just an example of some of the little like organizational-y stuff that I've been throwing into 1.7.20. All right, let me catch up on what you're all saying. Let's just go back to the top here. Oh geez, I'll go way back. Okay. Porting mid-development mod would be beneficial. Is a lot of cool stuff. If you're, at some point I would suggest like once 1.7.20 is out, then I hope all modders can update their stuff. Like as I was mentioning, it'll be a little bit of work to get everything adjusted. It's just a lot of like, instead of importing BA, you'll import like blah 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 as BS. So just like changing the names of imports and stuff. Right now, there's not a ton of like gameplay changes, so I wouldn't say you have a ton to gain necessarily by updating to 1.7.20. It's more just like something to get done to prepare for 1.8, which will have all the fun gameplay changes. There are some cool things like I just showed, like some of the little like quality of life options and stuff like that, being able to override directories and stuff, but it's mainly focused on just like code organization and like under the hood stuff. Do you need a computer to code game? Yeah, not really. Or yeah, it's useful, but probably this was answered already. But it's useful to have a computer. Like I always work on a computer. It'd be hard for me to get much done like on a tablet or a phone, but it is possible. There are some people that just code mods using nothing but a tablet or a phone. And I have been trying to make that more easy. Like that's kind of been a big push in recent months, is stuff like, if you haven't seen this, if you go to the Ballistica web portal, sign in with your account, and then play with the workspaces stuff. Like this should all be, if you go in here and make a workspace and code up a mod or whatever, like this should be all doable from a tablet or a phone. So at least to some degree modding should be possible anywhere. So if you're doing this stuff and you run into problems or you have questions, like let me know. I want to make this as, it's never going to be as good working on a phone as it is, working with a nice big desktop monitor or whatever, but it should at least work. So I do want to, make that work as well as possible. Well, this also allows you to use different account just by passing argument. I assume you mean like this command line stuff. Not currently. It would be possible. Most of the new V2 account stuff is pretty much all in Python land. So I mean, you could use you could probably use a either exec or command function to like launch the game and sign you in with a different account. It would just, you'd have to experiment a little bit. Mickey Rog is clearly on the PC is necessary side of the equation. Which again, I would say like it is definitely beneficial to have a computer or a big screen to work on. I mean, I think that applies for all coding, I feel. But it is possible without. So I guess that's all I'm trying to say is like if you don't have a big computer, a nice computer, don't let that scare you away. But maybe try to find one at some point. Okay, can we use BA _ BA modules in this command like listen? Oh, yes, you can. You can do stuff like this. Is basically 90% of the reason I wrote that C thing is for stuff like where it's generating like the dummy modules and things like that, or documentation. Like I want to be able to like run those commands without like spinning up the game, because in the existing stuff like 1.7.19 it has to like spin up the game, generate documentation, and then like kill the game. But sometimes like if something goes wrong, it'll like fail to kill the game, and then suddenly the game is just like sitting there running forever. And so there's all these little like technical like problems that you can run into like trying to run the stuff from within the running game. So that's part of the reason I made the whole C thing. So let me put my money where my mouth is and try it here. So Ballistica Core. I'm still right. Okay. Ballistica Core C, import BA. Oops. Oh, right. Oh, wait. No, not right. Okay, something crashed. Let me see. See, this is why I haven't released it yet. BA exec begin. BA. Oh, yeah. So this will all be in the documentation, but the downside with if you just run something like this, it tries to import, like _BA will try to import other Ballistica modules, such as, like the very first thing it does, there's this now like environment module, which you don't really need to know or care about, but when you import _BA, the first thing it does is tries to import this. But when you're running the C command, this is really just like raw Python. So it hasn't like, when the game comes up, it like adds a bunch of Python paths and stuff, like your mods directory, your user, all the different directories. It like sets up Python to be able to find its stuff there. But when you're using -C, it's really just running raw Python, so it doesn't have the path set up. So you have to, basically you either have to set it up yourself, like add something to the path, or set it up in your environment. So if I do like, this is just a default Python thing. If I do Python path equals, from there, or actually, here, I'll just drag this in. So, okay, so I'm just gonna set Python path to show it where my scripts are. And now if I run import BA, yeah, there it worked. Okay, so yeah, you can do that. We do import _BA and then print dir BA. Let's see what's in BA. So, BA. Oh, whoops. Yeah, there we go. So see, I just ran a command that like imported _BA and then just like printed everything that's in it and then exited. So again, hopefully useful for random technical purposes. Okay, sorry, I'm way behind on the list here. I'm getting caught up. App config stores account token. Actually, yeah, yeah, technically that might do it, because yeah, currently all the account config, like your account credentials and stuff, they get like encrypted and then stored in the app config directory. So I think, yeah, if you switch the app config directory, I guess it would come up with a different, I guess it would sign in with a different account. I haven't tried this, but I think it would work. So yay! I'm glad you guys like the the newer folder tree. I mean, I spent like way too much time trying to, re-engineer stuff, and I'm still doing that. I feel like this is like a big long process of slowly cleaning cleaning up what started out as a very like messy spaghetti code project. It should be like once I'm done with the 1.7.20, I'll go more in depth on some of the changes too. So hopefully you'll like the big thing I was mentioning before is what's called feature sets, which is basically it kind of takes chunks of functionality and divides those into like individual pieces that you can easily like flip off or flip on or like remove from the whole like source repo. So yeah, hopefully that'll be something that people can use to basically take like Ballistica Core and take out the feature sets they don't want and maybe add their own in, so you can just kind of make a version of the game that just has your mods like included in it, stuff like that. Spaghetti Squad, yes. And okay, I think I'm back to the bottom. Woohoo! But yeah, it's funny, like it would be interesting to look how the original Bomb Squad grew. It was just like, I think a lot of projects are like this, where it starts as like a simple little set of files. Like the UI file, it was just one Python file, and then as the game was growing or I was adding stuff to it, I just like add another window class in that same UI file and add another class. And eventually that bsui.py got to be like 15,000 lines long or something ridiculous. I feel like it was kind of impressive that Python handled it that well. Like it was just like these giant files. So in a way it worked, but the big thing that started being a problem with that is when files get that big, is if you're trying to use them with like things like linting, or like when I started using like type checkers, which, not to go off on a tangent, but I love type checking so much. It has like saved my butt so many times, and it makes it so easy to like refactor stuff. But the problem is that when you're using things like type checkers, they get really slow when you're running on like the 15,000 line files and things like that. So just for like iteration speed, it's so much nicer to have files that max out at like 1,000 lines or something. Because then when the checker is checking those files, maybe you have to wait a second or two versus like 15 seconds. It's like iteration speed is so important on this kind of stuff. It's like you're coding and you want to see like, oh, did this line work? Like, is this line legal? And to have to like wait 15 seconds to answer that question, like that sucks. So yeah, there's probably some inconsistencies there. I mean, I find in Python terms, it's called packages, like where something has a folder, that'll show up as, like technically, if you have in Python, if you have a folder with like a __init__py or .py, like that's pretty much the exact same thing as just having if you have like foo with an init under it, it's the same as having just like foo.py. So it basically, at some point, like when I have a Python module that starts to get too long, I will basically change it from a like foo.py into a foo directory with an init.py under it. At some point I feel like it like graduates to being big enough to like warrant its own sub package, essentially. So I feel like I'm not 100% consistent in terms of, some things are individual Python files and some things are like packages, but I just like, that's my mental model for it, is like once something gets complex enough, like it changes from a module into a sub package. And again, that's largely in service of just like trying to keep files like 1,000 lines or less, just to keep things iterable, whatever. Oh, what is this? Burp. Oh, how do you think your life would be different if the Ouya had taken off? I don't know. I honestly, maybe not a ton different, actually. Because the Ouya, for anyone who's not familiar with it, the Ouya was back in 2013, it was like a record-setting Kickstarter. Yeah, this little fella, the Ouya. And I actually, I have it here on my little like shelf. So I keep it around just to, for nostalgia purposes. I mean, I think it's still possible to run stuff on it. I know like their servers shut down a long time ago, but like some people, there's a little like community dedicated to kind of keeping these things running a bit. But anyway, yeah, so the Ouya was like a Kickstarter project. It was basically like an Android phone, essentially, in console form. It got a little bit of traction. I mean, it got a ton of like Kickstarter attention, but then, it didn't, it was around for a few years. It did all right, but then it went away. Turns out like micro consoles aren't really a thing people seem to want a ton. But it did have like a really neat kind of community of a bunch of kind of indie developers and people. And so like, I got to meet some of them at conferences and things like that, or go like hang out with the Ouya folks and stuff. But anyway, what I was saying is like the one thing the Ouya did for the game, like it worked really well for Bomb Squad, is like it got a lot of attention in terms of like Amazon was launching like the Fire TV and they were looking at the Ouya, and so they like contacted me to get Bomb Squad on like the Fire TV at launch. And like Google saw the Ouya and they were launching Android TV, and so they contacted me about getting Bomb Squad on Android TV at launch. And Oculus also the same thing. They were launching their like their first Android-based VR thing. So I think they saw the game on the Ouya and asked if I'd want to port it to VR. So it turned out like for visibility, I'm so glad I did that. Like it was a great, it opened a lot of doors, I guess. And now like being on Android, I mean, Android is like the biggest platform in the world, basically. It's like there's more Android devices than like anything. So I kind of feel like even if Ouya had been more successful, it's like, sure, I'd just be on something that had more, there'd be more players on Ouya instead of like on Android or whatever. So it might not have been all that different. I mean, I guess Ouya is more like a classic game console. So it's like, I guess the audience would have been different. But I mean, I can get back to that by once we're out on Steam or, more, if it ever gets out on like Switch or something like that, there'll be more like console type players. So anyway, hope that answers that question. Oh geez, I'm getting behind again. Definitely expect to see character pictures. Yeah, I mean, there might be some things too if it feels like something is misorganized or should be in a different place. Please holler, or feel free to like, I mean, maybe not at this immediate moment because everything is like torn apart right now, but feel free to move stuff around or whatever. Like I said, the type checking, like MyPy and all that, is so awesome for moving things around and like reorganizing stuff, because it'll catch 99% of those problems where it's like if you move a class to some other file, like everywhere you're using that class, like it'll show you like, oh, you're using this class that no longer exists in this place. Like when I first started writing the game, most people when you're writing Python, you're not using type checking because it's a totally like optional thing. And so that's the crappy thing about languages like Python, is that a lot of times you won't know if something broke until the next time you run it, because it's all dynamic, So it's like if some name doesn't exist, like you won't find out until you're halfway through testing your app or something. So that's why like type checking and stuff, it's so nice because you can catch all those kind of mistakes like before you even run the thing. Nice. I was looking though, I hope I still have the power cord, because I just have the box sitting up there on the shelf, but hopefully I didn't like throw the power cord away thinking that it was something like that I don't need anymore. Aw. Yeah, again, I know there's some online communities dedicated to like, I don't know if you have to, do some hacking to get the thing to run like without the servers present anymore, or if they still just run. I'll have to try sometime. I am curious. Oh yeah, Bomb Squad, the plan is Bomb Squad 2.0 basically, which is, there's a roadmap somewhere around here. There's a link to the roadmap, which is a big joke in itself. But yeah, the plan is for 2.0. That'll finally be the iOS launch and also the Steam launch. Kiosk mode. Oh yes. Yeah, I'm curious. Is this like currently the? I know, Samsung for years now has had Bomb Squad like a demo build or a kiosk build on their phones, at least in some places. So if you're all still seeing that, that's awesome. Like, they haven't kicked me off yet. I got a free Samsung phone out of it for test purposes, so that was nice. There's a physical store for stuffed animals or keys, or there is not a physical store. I mean, there's the one on the site, that ballistica.net, which sadly is only for certain parts of the world. But if you are in one of those parts, which is limited to like the US and UK and Spain, Japan, I don't know. It's like there's like 6 places that Amazon supports. If you see this little like merch link, oh, here we go. Yeah, Japan, UK, Germany, Spain, France, and Italy. So there's a few places where you should be able to order Bomb Squad shirts off of Amazon, but this would be great to. I know that this comes up in conversation a lot, but it would be great if we could, or if I can, or if any of us can find a way to easily like make shirts available for more people, or plushies. We need plushies, and coffee cups. We need so many things. Before you release Bomb Squad on Steam, please beware the Steam hackers. Yeah, that's kind of part of the reason. I mean, I feel like I've spent so much time just fighting with hackers. That's been like half the story of my work on Bomb Squad. Mainly because all the tournaments currently, it runs on your local device. And so it's, no matter what protections I put in there, it's always possible to, hack your local device and make the game think it's getting scores that you're not really getting. So it's like, that's been, definitely a big thorn in my side, is trying to like find a balance of trying to prevent that stuff somewhat, but also not being too annoying to people. And I know there's people that get like false warnings saying like, oh, your device is rooted, no tournaments for you, stuff like that. And so that's a bummer. But that's all part of me trying to, prevent people from hacking tournaments. But anyway, the big feature in 1.9 is going to be kind of moving most of the game by default to like the squad system, which is, hopefully I'll be testing before too long. And the squad system is basically like all played on cloud servers that I'm running. So in that case, it shouldn't be, hacking should be a whole lot less viable, because it's not like I said, if you have a device in your possession and you're running the game on that device, like you can hack that device. But if you're playing on a server, like the server is running all the game logic and the server is making all the final decisions. You're just kind of inputting commands to that server, like, hey, turn left, jump, whip out bomb. So in that case, it's a whole lot more possible to make it secure and prevent at least most hacking. I mean, you can come up with like some AI that like reads the screen and plays really awesomely for you or something, but that's a whole lot harder than like doing a memory scan and finding your score and replacing it with like 99999. So yeah, that's part of the reason why Steam and iOS will be coming out at 2.0, because hopefully we'll be mostly running competitive stuff on public servers at that point. So yeah, so hacking will be less of an issue. It's like if you want to hack your local device, go for it, but it's not going to affect like the server that you're playing on. When the game's on Steam, it will operate through Steam accounts. You'll still be able to sign in with the standalone Ballistica account if you want, but I definitely want to support like the native accounts wherever they're available. So, I do agree that's like, I think that is friction that a lot of people don't want to deal with. So that's why I hope most people playing on, Android or Google Play will just use their default like Android Google Play account. I'm actually and then same for Steam, like just Steam account, Game Center account on Apple stuff, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to like prompt people to have to make an account. The only time where people should need to make an account are like weird platforms like raw Linux or like test builds on Windows right now and stuff like that, where it's like there's no like native account system for them. So that's kind of why the raw like Ballistica accounts exist, is kind of a fallback for that. I am kind of curious though, like I should run some stats and see like even on Google Play, like how many people who play games from the Google Play Store are signed in to like Google Play Games. I know when I checked like 10 years ago, it was like there was a surprising number of people that weren't. So that's kind of why I originally made the game like local accounts and things like that, is just to give people like a fully automatic way to play. But I'm kind of trying to migrate away from local accounts because of all the problems that come with it, like people losing their, if you reset your device or get a new device or something like that, upgrade your phone, like you lose all your progress and just it's a bummer. I hate when I get an email from people saying like, hey, I just lost 5 years worth of progress because I wiped my Android phone or something. So that's kind of why I'm trying to push people gently to having a more permanent account. Making the shop more attractive. Yeah, I do. The shop is pretty ugly. I do like that will be a little bit. I plan to revisit that for squads mode, because if you've been around, like squads mode will have like a different economy. It should be more based on like getting tickets from playing competitive games and things like that. So as part of that, I'll be like, probably revisiting the whole like store setup or whatever for squads mode. So it's been ugly like this for many years, so that could be an opportunity to make it a little nicer. Can we be mods in the game? Yeah, this is something I had briefly talked about it before. At some point, I would like to come up with. I mean, maybe we should just like dedicate a session to talking about this or something, like some sort of mod system for it. I mean, I guess the existing game, if nothing else, but also in the new game, just if people come up with like vulgar usernames and things like that. I'm just wondering like what is like an automatic way that we can ban them, or can we have a set of people that are designated as mods for the game that are able to make those calls, or some sort of voting system or something. I feel like it's worth talking about it, because I'm kind of intentionally, this goes into other topics too, but kind of intentionally not trying to like scale up and hire a bunch of people. I don't plan on having like a moderation team or something like that. So I'm just trying to think of like a way to make it so the community can kind of self-manage for things like that, if possible. I know that's a hard challenge, but yeah, and that also goes to things like this, like people getting auto-banned by accident in the V1 stuff, like the existing tourneys. Join my server, remember what? Wait. Where is this? Oh, here, okay. Oh, what? A neural network that plays against the players. Oh my gosh, I want to see that. Squadbot. Is that up right now? Like, well, let me try to get to the bottom of this list, and then remind me. I'd love to check that out. Bomb Squad OS. Yes. That's all you need on all your devices is just Bomb Squad. Toaster, Bomb Squad. Refrigerator, Bomb Squad. Oh, yeah. No, it's a good point. I need to finish iOS Bomb Squad. Before Bomb Squad OS, I'm still worried that, the iOS crowd is going to hunt me down with pitchforks one of these days. I mean, I'm an iOS person myself, so it's like I love me some Android too, but I'm I iPhone guy also, so. Yeah, Smart Fridge Bomb Squad. Oh, whoop. Ah. Wait, I missed. What?
Hey.
Well, howdy.
So I've been working lately to make Discord rich presence for Bomb Squad.
Uh-huh.
We're working with Deal Week.
Cool.
So we have ported the rich presence for Bomb Squad on both Linux, Mac, Windows, and there's one for Android too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd
Let
love
me
to.
send you the file so you can showcase or test it.
Cool. Yeah, definitely send me the files. I'd love to take a look. That's definitely one thing. Yeah, it's something I want to get in there as like a officially supported thing or something like that. You know, especially as squads mode comes together. Is like I'd love for people to be able to easily form squads and whatnot in whatever way possible. So you know, Discord is probably a good way to do that. So yeah, that's awesome. Cool, cool.
So download the desktop RPC one because I know you'll be using Mac. And for the mobile, you can use the mobile RPC.
Okay.
The downfall for the mobile RPC is that it requires Discord user tokens
Okay.
for it to work. I utilized the Discord, meaning the WebSocket module to make this work.
Okay. Cool.
Uh,
I want to play with WebSockets sometimes. It's like, yeah, I haven't had a chance to like work with them, but yeah.
so I was suggesting that you add like a module manager so that when working with other modules that are not locally available in the game,
Uh huh.
it could be easy.
Oh yeah, to like download to get plugins and things. Like some people have done that, just like mod managers. Like there's a few of them out there, but I feel like it would be a good idea to like come up with an easier way to bootstrap that or something. Just like something in settings where it's like, hey, you know, even if there's not a built-in module mod manager, just something to be like, hey, get this one or this one or this one, or like a single button way to like get started with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is super cool though. Like definitely remind me if I forget. But after 1720's out, like or at least as squads mode starts to come online, yeah, we should get all this like integrated properly. Or like you said, a mod manager just to make it like super easy for other people to get to. That's another option.
Yes, yes.
Can you speak Spanish? I can. I understand a tiny bit of Spanish. I took Spanish in high school, but I've never like been around enough Spanish people to hold a conversation. But I say like "Dónde está el baño, por favor?" that's a, that's about the extent of it. Hola. So yeah, thank you, Brostos. This is very cool. Like I said, I do want to play with like web sockets in general. There's stuff. Yeah, it'd be fun. Like if you played with the where is it? Let's see. Am I signed in? Oh, I'm not signed in. Whoop. For stuff like this, for you know, like web-based stuff, like the live app console, things like WebSockets would be super cool, just to allow like instant communication between the game and the web server. Right now, it has to like do some polling, so sometimes if you're running commands for the game. I guess it's the other way around. Like if you print something in the game, it takes it sometimes a few seconds to show up here because like the website is having to pull, whereas WebSockets would make it super instant. So anyway, another thing on the bajillion line to-do list of things to learn. Cool. Yeah, we should definitely get the Discord RPC ball rolling here at some point. I need to just need to finish up this dumb 20 update. It's not a dumb 20 update. It's a very nice update. I shouldn't call it dumb, but in Bomb Squad, will we see voice chat feature in the future? So this comes up, I feel like every few weeks, And yeah, basically like my position on it currently is that like Discord can kind of do that job for us right now. And like it's a bit of a technical challenge too, in that I don't know if there is a like a easily usable or open source like voice chat system that it would be possible to integrate on like all platforms that Bomb Squad runs on. So like Mac, PC, Linux, Android, iOS at some point soon. Like if that does exist, I could be down for adding that, but like I kind of want to avoid doing something that would only be specific to one platform or things like that. As time goes on, I'm trying to like stay away from doing that. I'd like to, if I'm adding something to the game, I'd like it to be accessible by like everybody. So that's kind of the limitation there, is that I don't know if there's something like that exists, or there might be, but it might be something where it's like very expensive or something too. So that's another factor. But yeah, at the moment, the current plan is to not add it to the game itself, and then just like people who want to have chat, with their friends can use Discord or things like that. But we'll see. Maybe that'll change over time.
Eric,
Yes.
I was requesting for a feature.
Uh-huh.
So, like, when a player joins a game and uses the command like shift underscore ba dot get foreground host activity,
Uh-huh.
it shows even when you're in a server.
Oh, like what command? Could you type the command here? I'm not sure if I heard the command right. PS2. Well, PS2 is one of, like, I don't actually own too many consoles. I have a Nintendo Switch right now, but the previous console I owned was a PS2, and I owned it solely for Guitar Hero. That was, I love that game. Oh geez, oh no, more photos. Lab sense. You called me out on the soundtracks. Yeah, soundtracks are somewhat by necessity. Well, I guess maybe not by necessity. Like the game has the ability to play OGG files, so we could make like a general purpose soundtrack thing that would work with OGG files for like the 5 people who have music collections in OGG in the world. There might be, actually at this point, there might be like open source. I mean, it might be possible to add support for a few other formats. Like I know MP3 for a long time, it was copyright, or not copyright, but there were like trademarks or something, so you couldn't like distribute an MP3 decoder. But I think that's been not the case for a long time. But nowadays it's like there's other formats too. So I don't know, but yeah, currently the soundtrack stuff is platform specific, so that's a bummer. So yeah, so there's probably MP3 codecs. Oh, sorry, what?
I'm saying there's the command on the chats.
Oh, okay. Oh, get foreground host activity. Oh, so you're saying like when you're in, what does it do when you're in a game, when you're connected to something? Does it even work, or does it crash?
No, for local games like offline, it throws back the current activity, like main menu activities. But when you go online, it returns none.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of like, because technically a host activity means that you are like your game is hosting. So yeah, it doesn't. I mean, technically, whenever you're connected or watching a replay, you're in a client. It's a client activity or a client session, which basically means like you have no idea what the activity is or whatever. You're just like displaying a stream of commands. So that's why that returns none in that case. I mean, we could do something, or we could have it like tell you that, you're in a client activity, but it wouldn't really have any info beyond that. Because like none of the activity objects exist locally in that case. Like none of the Python ones anyway. It's basically just like this opaque, like you're a client activity.
Could you like add that feature where when I run that command, it throws the type of activity the server is having or things like that? So when this
Yeah, possibly. I mean, if that would be a useful feature, we could do something limited. I mean, like Mickey Rog is saying, we'd have to be careful that it doesn't like obviously it doesn't like exec code on the server or do something that would cause any security problems. But yeah, I mean, I could see how that would be useful in a way. Basically, just if you get like a string or something saying like, oh hey, I'm gonna capture the flag game on the server, or yeah, something like that.
because the Discord rich presence basically works on that code, those types of codes, foreground host activities and things like those.
Oh
So
yeah,
for local games, we can display your maps even
cool. Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, so maybe we should make a. I'm just wondering, like a request or something that the client could send to the server, like, "Hey, describe what we're doing," So then it would be up to the server to just give some little spiel, like, "Oh, we're in capture the flag game," or "We're in the main menu," or whatever. So, yeah, I feel like that could be a useful idea, yeah, for the rich presence stuff. So, yeah. I was gonna say if you want to like try to add a command for that or something, or like put something in, I don't know, just get it on the radar in some way. Um, Maybe a feature request on Discord or something like that. I'm like up to my head in refactoring stuff right now, so I can't do anything like that at the moment. But or maybe that would be something that we could do for squads mode or something, because that'll be kind of a different setup. I'd wonder if, I mean, right now you could at least say like, oh, you're connected. I mean, maybe there's some way you could tell the difference between like a replay client session and a regular session. So you could at least say like, I'm watching a replay, or I'm playing on a server. But yeah, you can't really get much more detailed info than that right now, unfortunately. Oh yeah, this is this is an interesting point, and that is something that's happened a decent amount in the game. Is like if there's like sensitive stuff, I will sometimes try to keep that in the C++ layer and not expose it to Python. It's like it's still possible people can hack the C++ layer. Like it's not preventing anyone from getting at that stuff, but just making it a little bit harder for people that might want to cause mischief. That can be good. So yeah, maybe the Discord stuff could exist like that. Or it could be Python that is, kind of like hidden Python. There's, you'll see there's some stuff in the game where it is Python, but it's actually getting basically compiled into a string and like executed on the fly in C++. So it never actually exists like as a .py file. And there's a few things in there. Like if you go into source meta, so BA meta is all that stuff. So this is basically Python code. So like we can run like Python type checking and stuff like that on it, but so you can see it. Whoops. So you can see it's just regular looking Python code. Like this is where it grabs this is where basically the C++ layer uses this to grab a bunch of stuff from the Python layer. So that's why like all these hooks come in here. And then this gets compiled down to, as part of the build process, it gets compiled down to just a little like include. So if you look binding ba.py, you'll see binding ba.py does not exist in the game. It's not a physical file anywhere, but it winds up as under source ballistica generated Python embedded. You see there's some internal-ish stuff here, but binding ba.inc. So this is just a little snippet that gets, yeah, you can see like, this is C++ code now. So it's const char bind code equals, this is all that Python script. And then there's some C++ code to basically execute that Python code. And then also it automatically generates this stuff to basically like grab those Python values. So here is where basically this is C++ code that is grabbing a bunch of stuff from the Python layer. So anyway, it is possible. The point I'm making is it's possible that we can like write bits of Python code that are not quite as publicly accessible. They're just like embedded in the C++ binary. So that at least to mess with them, you have to at least recompile the binary, which factors out most people. Way to use some kind of range boost for the servers that are far away. I mean, the biggest tool we have here is client prediction, I think. I don't want to use this as like let's say this will solve everything, but once we can get some sort of client prediction in, it should make it feel more, long distance games will feel less laggy, because your local machine will respond to your input like basically immediately, even though the server is not getting that input yet. So it introduces some weird like time paradox issues. It hurts your brain to think about, but yeah, that will hopefully help things like playing on long distance servers. Right now, it's basically I don't want to say the worst case scenario, but when you press a button on your controller, it sends that button press to the server. The server then like processes that button request. The server then sends you back like a stream of game commands like, oh, hey, this spaz over here just started jumping. And so basically what that means is you have to wait for that full round trip before you can see your jump, because the server has to like process it and then send you the results. So that's not, I mean, that's okay if you're very close to the server, but it's not ideal if you're far away from the server. That's what lag is. It's like you press a button, half a second later, your guy jumps. So yeah, hopefully, and that goes back into like client prediction is a big reason for all this. 1.7.20 is doing all this refactoring so that I can do like versioned, like scene versions they're called. So basically being able to take all the gameplay and make like a new version of that, which is completely different technically. It's like sending completely different streams of data and like just working in a completely different way, even though it should appear similar to the original version 1 stuff. And the version 1 stuff will still be in there, so you'll still be able to connect to all the old servers, but this way with the scene version stuff, then we can have like a shiny new version, and start to do things like client prediction and asset downloads and stuff like that. So that's a big part of 1.8, like I was saying. So yeah, unfortunately though, some of it is just physics. It's funny, like when you look at like the speed of light and like how long it takes it to get around the planet, it's like, it's a measurable little amount of time. It's like what, a third or a tenth of a second or something like that. So, which is a decent amount of lag. So it's like, even if there was like absolutely zero lag introduced by the game, like it's still like your events take, a measurable proportion of a second to like get to the server and back if you're playing like on the other side of the planet. So it's like at some point we're limited by the speed of light, which is, I always like love that concept. Like we're limited by the speed of light. It is really like thinking about client prediction. Like I feel like when I was first reading about it or thinking about it, it's like, how does this even work? It's like you're predicting, so like it makes sense if you kind of break it down into what exactly is happening, but it is weird to think about. So it's like, you have like 2 players in a game that are playing on a server. Like this guy thinks that he shot that guy in the head, but from this guy's view, like he's hiding behind the corner, so like this guy shouldn't be able to shoot him in the head from his view. But so it's like, who is right? Like who wins in this case? It's such weird like time paradox stuff. And then this guy goes back in time and kills this guy when he was just a child, so he never, turns into the leader of the resistance, and whatever. But I feel like I have a decent plan for basically rollback style client prediction for Bomb Squad. It'll be a little bit of a experiment to see how well it works, because there's certain things, like I feel like client prediction works well when you have 2 things that are like not directly interacting, like if there's, you have 2 characters shooting at each other from across a map or something like that. But a lot of times in Bomb Squad, you have stuff that is extremely like closely interacting. A character picks up another character and they're like flopping around. Like I'm curious how client prediction will work there, if it's going to be a whole lot of like resets and things like that, because there's going to be a whole lot of different inputs coming from those 2 different characters that are, at different times. So hopefully it'll work well. It should work well if you're just like throwing bombs at someone or whatever, but like it's a bit of a question like how well it'll work for that kind of stuff. Like flipping and throwing and like grappling. But we'll see. It'll be a fun little learning adventure. Hey, make your act. Go for it.
Hello, alrighty. So I'm gonna keep this short because I don't want to make it another like an hour long TED talk.
Okay.
So basically, what this rollback thing is, I only know the basic concept of it. So the basic gist is basically every single time, like every player tries to basically like simulate their own like world, kind of like Bomb Squad already does. So let's say I'm playing Bomb Squad and I'm running to the right, and the guy is standing still. And then okay, so we're just gonna sync our games like every now and then. But what happens if we don't have the current like the best newest version of the game? So what does that other enemy look to us in the meantime? Like he's standing still, right? That's what the game thinks is gonna happen. But if he was like moving to the right, like we do, and then suddenly the connection is lost or some kind of a new update is like too old or something, then in the meantime the character will just constantly keep going right because that's what the character was doing, so that's what we're gonna keep doing. So we're not exactly like predicting what is happening, we just kind of hold their last input or whatever they were doing. So if they're holding a bomb, that bomb is still gonna cook off and maybe eventually explode and that kind of thing. So every now and then basically realize, okay, are we in an actually in a current situation or is something outdated? If it is outdated, we just move everything back in place as the server sees fit. So if there's really bad internet, you might have stuff like, okay, so the player is like jumping, turning around and trying to punch, but except that the punch input is missed. And then the server is like, oh, we already updated. So then the guy is just gonna go back and actually do the punch properly. So it's like some inputs are like hidden, but that's no big deal because we can just always roll back. So on each client, it's basically we only get the newest like activity, and then we just go from there and see what's gonna happen. And if something mismatches, we just correct it before anybody notices. And sometimes this like rollback thingy, it can be glitchy if there's like a big latency or something. But this is generally why a lot of games sometimes mix delay based and rollback. So you have, for example, everybody has like 1 or 2 frames of input delay, and then everything else is rollback. So we can avoid these like issues. I mean, I remember sending one video which is like very layman's terms way of explaining it, but I think this is basically the gist of it. You don't actually like read the game, even if something happens on the server that's actually the proper way. We just don't have any issues if we just go back, because it's very easy for the server to do it, because the server always has the most relevant version, and clients always lag behind. So all the clients have to do is basically sync up.
Yeah, I think that's when I'm thinking about like adding it to the engine, I keep thinking about like how to visualize it, or because Bomb Squad will have to do kind of a slightly different variation of it, because basically, like what you're saying is, it's rollback netcode is basically like, oh, I don't know what this character is doing, so I'll just assume he's still walking in the same way he was. But then it's like a moment later, you're like, oh, actually he jumped a half a second ago. So then you have to like rewind, apply the jump, and then fast forward again to where you were. And that's basically what it is. So it's, but the technical challenge with that is, Bomb Squad is not super expensive, but like the physics sims and stuff like that, they are somewhat expensive. So if we're having to do things like, if we had to roll back like a half second into the past and then change some inputs and then re-simulate a half second back to where we are, like that would be super hitchy. So like that would, I'll have to do it in kind of a weird hybrid way. So my plan right now, and we'll see how this changes, is basically to have like 2 versions of the game, like an A version and a B version. And so basically like you'll be playing on the A version, and every half second or something, the B version will reset to like somewhere recently in the past, and then kind of fast forward to where we are, and apply the newest code. So, like that jump that we didn't know about a second ago, like the B version will pick that up. And then when B version like catches up to the current time, now we're displaying the B version. and A version will then like jump back to the past and slowly catch up. So it'll be, instead of like immediately rewinding and fast forwarding, it'll be more like there's an A version that's catching up, and then there's a B version that's catching up, and an A version catching up. So it's like there'll be two versions of the game like progressing at once, and we'll only just be seeing one of them. So if that makes sense.
So basically want to have try to mask these glitches as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So the switches between A and B.
Yeah.
Like if everything was perfect, they should come out exactly the same. Like if no inputs changed since the last one, like the A will catch up, we'll flip to A, and it'll look just like B. But
I think
but most of the time, probably something will change, so it'll be like a slight hitch. And we can then like blend or something, you know, like have the actual character position on screen like blends smoothly between A and B.
I think with rollback it's kind of unavoidable, but with physics, because the physics are so predictable, like rewinding might not be as big of a deal as like character movement and interactions, because those happen like we see like funny rollback like glitches sometimes in other games, like in fighting games, for example. So I guess that's unavoidable, but if there's a way if you think you can somehow like mask this, or at least have it feel like it's still like continuous, then I'm definitely open to seeing how it works in practice.
Yeah, it'll probably be some experimentation. That's the thing I'm trying to like visualize though, is like maybe when you're developing or when you're writing scripts, like maybe you would actually see the A sim and B sim, so you could kind of see like how things are being affected by the rollback. Like maybe one would be like tinted red and the other be tinted blue or something, or you could like flip that on and off. Just something to be able to tell like, oh, this is not getting predicted right, or
Yeah.
so.
The way I like to explain this to other people is, if the server dances perfectly to music and the client is like constantly drunk and sometimes like missing his cues and stuff like that, then sometimes the teacher has to like come in and hold your hand so that it puts you in the right place, and then you just continue from there until you stumble again, and then you do the same, and you just keep this back and forth with doing your often and then having to correct it so that nobody notices.
Yeah.
Except everybody notices because the server is there to like, you know, let you know what you did wrong and stuff.
Yeah. One thing I'm kind of excited about, which you basically rollback netcode, like we said, if the A sim catches up and the B sim catches up, if all the sims are coming with the same results, like if nothing is varying between them, you know, we should never see those snaps, because the sims are just like recreating what just happened. Therefore, if you're playing like a single player game on a cloud server, like that should be the case, because there's never going to be like surprise input. So that means if we have client prediction working and you're playing, you know, a competitive score-based game on a server, like you should get immediate, basically your input is the only input. So when the server is calculating things, it's going to be exactly the same as you're calculating things. It's just you'll be using prediction and the server won't, or whatever. So essentially, like if we do this right, it means like you should be able to play competitive games, competitive like single player games on a server with like no glitching ever, you know, as long as all the math and stuff works right. Yeah. Aside from like if there's a huge lag spike or something, or the server suddenly like loses the past 3 seconds of input. But as long as it like keeps up decently, like, well, it should mean we should be able to have like nice twitchy fast action stuff that is played on a server and can be competitive, and no hackers. Yay.
At the same time, though, having two sims can be costly, especially when you have to make sure that all of them are like synced to the server.
Oh yeah.
So I was wondering if having just one single sim that's basically just course correcting along the way and just accepting these glitches are gonna happen might be a better and more like intuitive way for the servers to handle it, because at the same time we don't want to send tons of data to the client and stuff, unless the client is doing like their own simulated versions and just picks the best one out of them all.
Yeah, well, the main limitation there is, you know, like if you only have one sim going and you want to apply a correction, you know, like if that's a third of the second, if you're resimulating the past, you know, 1/3 of a second or something, it's like that resimulating a third of a second, you're not going to be able to do that very fast on especially low-end Android devices. Like that's gonna take at least a few frames. So like every time you would, you know, roll back, we'd have like a really kind of massively noticeable hitch. Like that would be the only thing. So that's why my thought is like having two, and maybe we could be smart about it. Like maybe the client prediction only simulates stuff that's like real near to the local character or something. So like maybe any enemies in the background, they're just like motion streaming, like we were talking about, like they can not even be predicted. Prediction would simply be like only the stuff you're directly interacting with or something. So hopefully it would be two lightweight sims that are ping-ponging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but anyway, there's lots of documentation online about rollback network. Of course, what I said here is like vastly oversimplifying it. I definitely think there's way more stuff, because I don't even know how you would actually go back. Like, for example, if both clients are wrong or something like that, does server always have authority and stuff like that? There's also things to think about.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like I feel like a pure rollback approach means that like every client in the game, or every participant in the game, is able to like rewind and run the full simulation themselves. And unfortunately with Bomb Squad, that's not the case. Like basically the server is the only authority. Like the server is the only one running Python code. So most of the logic is only happening on the server. So basically, yeah, we'll have to do some tricks for the client to be able to kind of rewind and simulate forward, timer-based stuff, or just having more logic be in kind of things like materials, where like the client can execute that code itself because it's not arbitrary Python code, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's basically for replication and stuff.
Yeah. So that'll be kind of the fun experimental part, is to like see how that will all work. Like how can we get stuff able to be executed on the client, so that we can use local client prediction.
And of course, if you should have this system like by itself, or combine it with delaying everybody's inputs by like 1 or 2 frames. Like I remember in Skullgirl, for example, which is a fighting game, when you start playing, before the match starts, you get to pick which input delay you think you're gonna handle the most. Mm-hmm. For example, if you have low ping, it's basically gonna give you how many frames do you want your inputs delayed. So it basically defaults like 0, 1, or 2. Yeah. And if you have higher ping, it defaults to higher. Basically trying to minimize the amounts of hitches that's gonna happen. Because if you pick 0, for example, it might work amazing then, and then by the time it hitches, the hitches are gonna be really bad and really noticeable.
Yeah, that's something the game kind of tries to figure out on its own, actually, right now. Basically, if you dig into like the netcode, there's like delays that it tries to calculate. Let me see if I can just join a game real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whose game can I mess up here? Oh. Well, I guess it's okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, here's all the debug buffering stuff, which is I think Control F8 or just F8, whatever it is. I forgot which of these is which, but yeah, time buffer. This is basically this is like when data is coming in from the server. And then run rate, this is basically, it's trying to come up with like a running speed for the game, where it will essentially, use all the buffered commands that come in, but without, like overshooting. So it's trying to like calculate basically a safety buffer on its own, but keep it as small as possible, if that makes sense. So this is just, oh geez.
So at least part of it is like already implemented.
Yeah, essentially. It's just like the one you're talking about. I think it's more just like you would set a value, say like, okay, we're always going to buffer 3 frames or something. Oh my gosh, everyone's joining.
All it takes is one person to set up the chain.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But yeah, this is, if you ever have like wonky net play issues or something, like take a look at this stuff. Again, it's, oh yeah, F8. It takes it a moment to turn off and on because it's janky, but yeah, if you see like really weird patterns happening here, like take a screenshot and send it to me or something, because this is all basically heuristics where it like tries to digest the net play code at a constant rate, but it might not always work in all cases. Here you can see weird like adjustments up and down. Filter delay. I don't remember what filter delay is. If you just search for these strings in the source code, you'd see where all this stuff is. So Because yeah, ideally, yeah, and it's actually doing pretty well right now. Time buffered is 0.
Yeah, when you first joined, it was like jumping and
Yeah, I
making
was
some
like jumping a
spikes.
lot. I have seen, yeah, depending on network conditions, especially with things like Wi-Fi, which introduces lag. You get like weird little cases where it like usually works, but like once a second there's a big spike or something. And it's like, who knows what that means? Maybe it's like the refrigerator talking to the toaster.
Yeah. Oh, and it's worth noting about rollback is that it tries to update the game state as often as possible. Or for example, 60 FPS if the game is set to 60, for example. And if it can't, then the client prediction kicks in and just keeps going with the simulation until the new like most recent version arrives, and then we can just sync to it.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, again, I kind of feel like I'll probably have to do like the ping ponging things just so that I can keep the game updating fast enough. Just because like I said,
Yeah.
resimulating 10 frames of Bomb Squad is like there's on a fast PC that would be possible, but like on an Android phone, like it's not going to be able to do that without a visual hitch, because it has to like
Yeah.
needs to keep spitting stuff out 60 frames per second, and so
Yeah, like the most basic implementation would be just basically replays.
yeah. But yeah, even in that case, it's kind of like I feel like a big piece of the puzzle or an important part is having 2 happening at once. So that's something I definitely want to get in there, so I can
Yeah, the
keep
replays are perfect.
yeah. So I can even if it's showing an old outdated sim, like just so it can keep stepping that sim while the other one is coming up to date because it might take it 3 or 4 frames. So all right, we should
So
stop.
I guess the others.
Oh, what's that? Go
I
ahead.
guess the other sim would. I guess the other sim would also have to be eventually updated until it becomes like so desynced it's basically useless.
Oh yeah, yeah. And again, that would be like the A/B ping pong thing, where it's like we reset one sim with new input. It slow as fast as possible. It like simulates through towards the present time, and then we start displaying that, and then we can like get rid of our other sim and reset it back in the past and have it do that same thing. So if the device is
If I
fast
understand
enough
it
to
correctly,
what's that?
if I understand it correctly, the two sims like updating them is much harder work than keeping both of them like alive, basically updating one frame or stuff like that. If I understand this correctly.
I mean, it shouldn't. Or maybe I'm not understanding it.
Because from what I can gather, both sims are like not updated at the same time. They are updated one sim, second sim, and stuff like that. And at first I thought maybe it's basically like easier or less computationally expensive to do that, or maybe each update is like expensive. So that's why we need 2 sims. And having 2 sims is better than constantly updating with the first sim.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the basic reason for it is because we have one sim that is always like the displayed sim. So this sim is only updating, the normal game speed, just so we have something.
All right.
So
That
we
checks
always
out.
need one sim to like keep us at 60 frames per second, and then the second sim is doing prediction. So it's like the second sim can go as fast as it can. It's like it starts a half second ago and then speeds up and tries to catch up with the current time. And once it catches up, then we show that sim instead because it's more up to date. And then the first
The
sim.
the first one always has authority or priority because it's the one that's displayed to the player. And
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
to feel smooth.
Yeah, so we're basically yeah, exactly. So that one
Yeah,
is
that makes sense.
so we always have one sim that is doing like the bare minimum it needs to, which is just display 60 frames per second. And then, we have a second sim which is updating for prediction purposes. And my assumption is we'll flip back and forth like an A and a B. But I mean, it could be something where it's like, the A sim is always the prediction sim, and then it just like hands off its state to the B sim or something. But that's probably a technical detail.
We'll have to try it. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably it for me when in terms of like rollback prediction stuff. I just wanted to bump in to basically talk about it like shortly because I could talk about it more, but I think we already, covered the most important topics.
Cool.
And I definitely want to talk about more exciting stuff like new content or stuff I'm working on and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Maybe maybe I will be able to show something a couple of weeks from now, or maybe have something playable like a month later or something. I definitely would want to show it on stream once I do.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. So
that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna go back to reading.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining. So let's see, whatever. Question with the games posed. Oh, getting knocked out by touching all the buttons at the same time? Wait, are you talking about like the auto spin knockout stuff, or I'm not sure what. Or do we have that? Is there something where you touch all buttons, you get knocked out? When will Bomb Squad 1. Well, while you're answering that, when will Bomb Squad 1.20 come out? Or 1.7.20? we got 3 sets of numbers going here. As soon as possible. I mean, basically the kind of big changes were, kind of ripping the game apart into these like feature set chunks, as I've been mentioning, so that we can things like scene version 2, like the updated net play and all that cool stuff. That can be like scene, BA scene v2. So that's been a huge change, kind of ripping all those pieces up, ripping everything into pieces. And the biggest part is making sure those pieces aren't like dependent on each other, like spaghetti code, So like it feels like I've been spending weeks just like untangling spaghetti, basically. So it's almost there. It's like the core stuff is basically untangled. The few things that are left to do still are, I need to rename some of the scripts. BA data, Python. So you can see some of the stuff that's been kind of untangled is like BA is now basically just like core OS level stuff, or like running the app. BA Classic is kind of a Dropbox for a bunch of like old code that's stuff for kind of like V1 type stuff. Plus, this is where all the internal stuff is going, all the like closed source bits. And then Scene V1, this is all the existing gameplay. UI V1, this is all the existing UI. So most of these parts are mostly independent right now. What I still have to do is like there's still this like BASTD, which is this thing that's existed for a long time, like the standard library. So I need to get this into some sort of like versioned places. So like splitting this apart, it'll probably be like BA Scene V1 lib or something like that, which is basically all the actors and everything that you use with Scene V1. And then like all the BA UI V1 lib, which is like all the UI bits that use UI V1. So at that point, then we'll have a nice kind of cleanly organized set of new packages and modules and whatnot. So that's the last thing I'm still doing. I mean, there's lots of odds and ends, but basically just kind of finishing up that refactor, and then I'll get it out as soon as I can. I know, like I've been saying, like, oh, maybe next week for like 5 weeks now, but yeah, could be next week, could be 2 weeks. We'll see. I'll keep going as fast as I can. That's kind of the story of the game in general, I guess. There's a few other just kind of upkeep related things I've been doing. Like I took yesterday, I'm trying to like simplify my Jenkins situation. So for anyone who doesn't know, Jenkins is a CI server. So it's basically, oh, is this not wanting to run right now? Oh no, did my computer forget how to internet? Oh, it did that thing again. Okay. Well, when my computer remembers how to internet, I will show you my Jenkins setup. But basically Jenkins is like the CI, continuous integration server. So whenever I make a change to the game, I check that into Git or into GitHub. My Jenkins server grabs that, and then it tries to compile the game on like Linux and Android and iOS and everything else, just to make sure that like all versions are still working. Runs a bunch of tests. So I've been doing a bit of just kind of like busy work of cleaning that system up, and I'm trying to just like move all my stuff into like one Jenkins server. Right now I have like 2 of them. there's like 2 old laptops in my closet. One of them's running a Jenkins server. The other one's out of fun AWS. So I feel like a big portion of all this game development stuff in general is just try to keep things, contain the complexity. So that's why yesterday I'm trying to like reduce one of these servers or, combine them so I can get rid of one of the laptops in my closet, things like that. Oh my gosh, I'm missing a bunch of stuff here. Oh, that's super cool. Modded server thing. Oh, spam a button too much, you get knocked out. Oh yeah. Turbo spam. I think it disappeared for a while. Like I think I took it out of. Like it disappeared in like 1.6 or something because I thought I was refactoring spaz, but then it got added back in because I didn't refactor spaz. Oh yeah, and that was put in there originally. Yeah, people were complaining about people using turbo controllers and stuff, getting some advantages from that. So yeah, I think there was the anti-turbo thing got put in there at some point. At some point, I know I wanted to move that to like the C++ layer because it's a little bit ugly having it like live on the spaz layer in Python land. It seems like logic that shouldn't have to be in Python. Because in general, like it's good to avoid. I mean, Python is so much slower than C++. Like if we can do any logic that we can do that we know we're always going to be doing, if we can do that in C++, that's better. Or something like that. I feel like it could often, that could even be like at the input device level in C++. Just like when it's reading your button presses, like it would just, cap them at a certain amount per second or something. I imagine if we're trying to prevent people from using turbo controllers, we want to prevent them from using it in all situations, right? Or maybe something that you could turn off and on if for some reason you wanted turbo controllers to be usable. But yeah, it's interesting the things like the ways to try to keep things a bit more like equal and even and stuff like that. Which I wonder sometimes like how much that's necessary, because I feel like there's certain things that like there's gonna give a big skill gulf anyway. Like people playing on a touchscreen, unless there's someone out there who loves touchscreens, but I feel like playing on a controller is always going to be way better than playing on a touchscreen. So it makes me wonder like how much should we even try to prevent controller players from gaining more advantages? I don't know. Maybe it's worth it, but I'm hoping with squads mode to have some sort of skill based thing where like real good players get paired against other real good players, things like that. At least to some like small degree, just so we don't have like new people jumping into the game and immediately getting like annihilated by a bunch of pros, stuff like that. I feel like that's a problem with all games. But then of course you get there's a term for that where like pro players like reset their accounts on purpose just to go like smash new players. What is that term? Smurfing? Something like that? Yeah, smurfing, that's it. Cool. So yeah, we'll have to see if there's some way we can avoid smurfing. Touch pen. Oh yes, there we go. I have so many like weird controllers that I've built up over the years. Like there's some weird 2-in-1 controllers. I'm curious if those still work. Like I feel like I never test those. Yeah, but the options are still in there. Like if you want to take one controller and like split it into 2 inputs, like you can still do that. So if anyone's using wacky controllers like that, like 2-in-1s, like let me know if it's not working, because it's impossible to test like all these things. Internet is still not working, which is so weird because I'm streaming to the internet at this very moment. I don't know what this. Ugh. Nope. All right, new to Python programming. Where should I start to contribute to this community? I would say just like being on this server and talking to people here is a good place to start. I mean, there's a little bit of the stuff on like the GitHub. There should be links to all that here. So yeah, there's lots of helpful folks around. I'm happy to. Occasionally, I answer questions. I know I've been bad lately, especially since I feel like ashamed to show myself on the server because I'm still like not done with 1.7.20. So I kind of feel like I need to finish that, and then I can come back and show my face in public again. But if I am around, I'm happy to answer a few questions. But again, apologies if I'm slacking on that. So yeah, I think that's good. Just yeah, figure out how to just muck with a Python file. Start small, mess around with one of the spaz or some other thing like that. Go from there. It's a fun excuse to learn a little bit of Python. It was actually I think Bomb Squad is why I learned Python back in the day, because I was in art school. I was just getting out of art school, and so Bomb Squad I started it as kind of a hobby thing while I was looking for work, and I think I knew that Python was starting to become like a big thing in the visual effects industry, like a useful thing to know. So I think I used it as an excuse to, like, my little like Bomb Squad hobby thing that I started doing. I used that as an excuse to kind of like learn a little bit of Python. Um, so yeah, it's how I learned Python too. Yeah, if you this goes back to what we were saying earlier, but yeah, if you can theoretically do stuff on the phone if you have access to a computer or something with a bigger screen, it's definitely easier. But you should be able to do at least a little bit on a phone. But yeah, or that can be a good way to start, is like tinker a little bit with the web-based editor on Ballistica.net on a phone, and then as you learn more, and if you can get access to a PC or something like that, you can kind of take things farther that way. Yeah, resources. Yeah, again, I would say the server is probably the best one in terms of people can point you in the right direction. I know there's a lot of like other modding sites and things like that people probably know about that I don't. Coffee type of choice. So I love me some coffee, but I'm definitely not a coffee connoisseur. There's some people who are just like, oh, I only have like grounds of this particular variety or something like that. So I like most all coffee. I'm actually usually just drinking like instant coffee just because it's simple and I just like easy to keep around throughout the day while I'm working. It's more just like a comfort thing. It's like having like a warm liquid to like sip on. I could probably put like warm water in there and I'd be happy. Oh, on the coffee note though, it was my birthday a few days ago. Hooray! I'm getting even older. But so my lady got me this lovely happy birthday balloon, and also one of the this is so ridiculous, but one of these like smart coffee cups. Have any of you seen these? Apparently, like you can control it with your phone to like keep your coffee at an exact temperature or something like that. So I have to give that a try. I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also like I don't want to. I like my random variety of coffee cups. It's like part of the fun of the day is like switching my coffee cups. So I'll have to determine when I want to go like high tech with my fancy techno coffee cup. So yes, technology is going too far. It's one of those things where it's like that's ridiculous, but it's kind of fun too. I don't know. I feel like my parents, I tell them about like stuff like that, and they're like, "What?" Or like, "Why do you need that to be smart?" I was like, "Yeah, we don't, but it's fun." Yeah, that's true. Like, I wonder. I feel like I don't know the answer to this. Like, what's a good resource for beginners, or what can we do to make it easier for beginners? Goes back to things like should we make an automatic button to like install mod managers or something like that, or just have a built-in mod manager. But it's one of those things where I don't want to. There's a term called like Sherlocking in like the Apple world, where it's like if Apple adds, like sometimes people write apps or things that do like super handy stuff, and then like a year later Apple will just like add that to their operating system because it was a good idea. But it's called Sherlocking because this happened with a tool called Sherlock, I think. But where it's like you make something cool and then it gets kind of replaced by an official version. I was just saying I don't want to do that if possible. If people are making cool like mod managers, like I want to support that and allow people to keep doing that and not like replacing it with some official thing that's never going to improve. But maybe there's something where we could like have the game automatic, like a few links or something to easily install those mod managers or whatever. Yeah, that's a good point in terms of. Yeah, it's always hard to know like what a good level is in terms of teaching people Python and things like that. I do think, at least for me, I always learn more when I'm just like digging into something myself. But it's always nice to have people to ask questions to for specific things though too. But now we have ChatGPT, so we don't need that anymore. Oh yeah, this is a good point here. So yeah, some players having problems getting kicked out of a game. If it's a competitive situation, that sucks. I think the game might be too. I should check the netcode because basically if it hasn't received any messages from a certain player and like I don't remember what the threshold is, like 10 seconds or something. It will just assume that they've disconnected and it'll consider them gone. But yeah, I hope I can get this in for squads mode. But basically something like a proxy player where when you're connected to a game, like even if you disconnect, like you'll still be in the game. So you have the option to, unless you like explicitly disconnect and say like hey game, I'm leaving, you should be able to reconnect. That's my hope anyway for squad stuff. Like if your game crashes or if the connection goes down, like there's no technical reason why it couldn't do this. Basically just like reconnect you to the game and rewire your controls up to the player you had last time. So yeah, I'd love to do that because it's I feel like that's such a bummer when you have like a random glitch in the middle of some important game and like suddenly you've just lost it. And this would all be, squads mode would be basically like a bunch of, you'd only be in there for the rest of like that mini game or something like that. So, yeah, hopefully that wouldn't be like something people would do on purpose. Because it would still hopefully just like screw your teammate over anyway. So it's like, it's not gonna, we'd have to see, like if it becomes if that sort of thing became super annoying, like people are leaving constantly, then I guess we could, well, but again, if they're leaving on purpose constantly, that would be mostly what's happening. But it's just like how often people like pull the plug just to mess with the other people in the game or something. But hopefully it wouldn't mess with them. It would just like I said, screw your team over, which is hopefully something you won't want to do on purpose because you've picked your team. Proximity chat, our own server voice chat. Well, this goes back to the voice chat thing, which, yeah, currently no plans to add voice chat. Just going to rely on Discord, stuff like that for that, so that, hopefully, or just assuming like if your squads mode will be all about like picking a few people that you want to play with on your team. And so hopefully in that case, you can, hook up with them on Discord or whatever chat service you want to use. But yeah, in general, I want to lean towards for online play, like not having super direct interaction with players you're playing against, unless you opt into it or something. It just seems like, limiting it to like emotes or simple things like that, where you can still kind of express express yourself in some limited way, but without toxic players spamming the screen with curse words and stuff like that. Average size of data for Bomb Squad server is too much right now. This is, I know I've been talking about this forever, but this is another reason for wanting to get Scene v2 and kind of like a complete separate copy of gameplay code that I can like revise the netcode. Oh my gosh, my internet came back. My computer remembers how to internet. But yeah, right now for technical reasons, it does send quite a bit of data. It's a lot of like correction packets, basically sending out like transform matrices for all the rigid bodies in the scene, if that means anything. And it does that quite often, so it's a ton of like floating point values, which are kind of big. So yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to address. So it's like server costs right now, like most of my server costs are bandwidth, which is kind of crazy. So that's something I definitely want to improve. So yeah, I think this sums up my opinion right now. Is like, if I'm like, I'm not trying to be like, super ultra competitive and stuff. Like if I want to play a game, I don't want to be like getting all annoyed by someone calling me names or something. So like I'd prefer to have the default be just like, hey, if I'm playing with friends, we can say what we want to each other, but some random guy on the other end, yeah. But again, I like, maybe there'd be a way to enable that, or maybe like certain, I'd prefer it to just be an opt-in thing. Like if people want to like chat with random people they're playing against, like maybe there should be an option to do that, but I think it should be off by default. That's my thought on it. But yeah, annoying stuff like that, or being kicked for being good. That's another thing, hopefully, where squads mode won't have kick options. It'll just be, at least I don't think, because it'll be just a bunch of individual little matches, like you three against some other three, and they'll be over quick, and so there's no like kicking involved, because it's not like random people joining those matches. It's like preset teams. That too, yeah. It's, as an older guy playing games, it's kind of awkward when there's a voice chat full of very young people. It's a little bit like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Yeah, unless we get the cool like voice translation stuff. It makes everyone sound like super badass. Or yes, voice translators and voice maskers or whatever. Everyone can sound like speaking the same language and sound ultra deep voiced. There we go. I feel like being a bit older, I never, like my video game heyday when I was growing up, I mean, that was basically before voice chat and stuff. So I feel like I've just not grown up in that environment. Like, I don't know. Do any of you guys, like when you play, you just like leave voice chat on and just like talk smack to random people? Like to me, that seems like so weird, but I guess maybe that's just like the normal thing for some people. Possible to create an option to block specific words? It certainly would. I mean, you could do that yourself. If you look at in the like Python stuff, you could find like where the chat messages come through, and or we could like make an official thing to like ban a list of words or something. I hadn't bothered with that just because it's such a complex. Like I didn't think I wanted to try to solve that on a global level, because it's like every language has their own set of curse words, and there's always people always find ways around it or something. But maybe in a way, maybe it would be more effective if you did, if we made an option where you can like add your own words, because then people won't be like trying to work around the filters if they don't know there's a filter. But yeah, that's something that could be done relatively easily. If anyone wants to do that, just have some sort of option for a filter list, like for the classic Bomb Squad setup with kind of public chat, like feel free. I'd be happy to accept a PR. But as for me, like my efforts are going to be going towards squads mode, where you won't be talking with random people anyway outside of your squad. But yeah, it's like those type of filters are so easy to defeat with separating letters or using whatever. So that's why I think if there was a filter in place by default, like people would totally work around it because they'd know what to expect. But like I said, if you did want to, if we did make it possible to add your own filters, that could actually work. I don't know how many people would like take the time to add those filters, but if people wouldn't be expecting them, it's almost like the mute chat option. It's just like like add more options to see what you do or don't want to see. Oh, merp. What is this? Is the narrator you? Oh, yeah, that's me with little help from my friend. Where is it? Audacity here, just like dropping. That's just my voice, like dropped an octave or two. So, is this working? Is this working? What is it? I haven't been in here for a while. Pitch.
Is this working?
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Is this working?
That reminds me, if any of you have audio editors, this a really fun game to play is record something in an audio editor, reverse it, and then like try to say it backwards, and then reverse that and see how it sounds. So if you say like, oops, wait, oh my God. Hello world. Hello world. Okay, we got that now. Should be just an invert. Oh no, not invert. Reverse. Swervola. See, then you try to record it that way. Swervola. Then you reverse that and you see if it says hello world. Sorry, you can tell it's a slow day when I'm doing this. Hello. Not very good. Hello. But anyway, if you're bored, something to do. Live tutorial. I don't even remember like what I probably just used like a manly voice or something.
Onslaught.
See, if you take that and like pitch it up, it'll start sounding like me, and then we can see like what kind of voice I was using. It's been so long, I don't remember. Yeah, that was the tricky thing. It's like, I mean, I kind of liked the voices for announcing game types and stuff, but the reason I took those out, I think this has been mentioned before, is because I didn't want to like disadvantage like modded game types or players playing in other languages or something. It just seemed like, I didn't want to have it like, oh, this is an official game, it has a name announced, but like all these other games, they don't. I mean, I guess maybe that would be okay. We could always like record names for popular modded games or something. I don't know. Or just set up like an AI to announce all of them. Copy it halfway, then mirror it? What? Okay, I will. If I can remember what I did for the narrator voice, then I will do a tutorial sometime. Oh yeah, that could be. I mean, that would be interesting in general. I know this goes into the topic of like hiring people or whatever, but just getting like professional voice actors for some characters or something like that. I kind of feel like, not that I do an amazing job, but I feel like I've done a few characters already, so I don't want to just like overdo it and keep trying to do, I don't want all the characters to sound vaguely like me. But it'd be neat to, and I guess there's a decent amount of like public sounds available, like on free sound and stuff. Oh, on that note, Did you guys see there was the Wilhelm scream? Are you guys familiar with the Wilhelm scream? Like someone posted a bunch of like old like movie audio input or like recorded movie audio from way back in the day, and they found like the original Wilhelm scream. So like you've all heard this thing. It's in like Star Wars and everything else when someone dies, you know, like. But yeah, they if you haven't heard it, like find it on the internet. It's like they found the original thing where it's like some guy talking about like, okay, you're being eaten by an alligator. What would you sound like? And this guy does a few things, and that's one of them. So it's super cool to hear. But that also makes me think if that's public domain, like we got to put the Wilhelm scream in there somewhere. Just like a character that completely doesn't sound like that. You know? Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, exactly. Like B9000 or something. Just something that, with a completely different voice, but then suddenly he falls every now and then. It's that. But I think it showed up on Freesound, which is where I got a lot of the sounds for the game, freesound.org. And I guess maybe these have different licenses. You'd have to check it out. A lot of them are, you know, Creative Commons and stuff. So you'd have to see what the Wilhelm scream is. Maybe if it's like free for public use, then we could grab it. And I have a feeling that might be why it got posted, because it's like so old. Like maybe it went into, you know, maybe the copyright on it expired or something like that. Like there's certain things that are like in public domain now. Like Winnie the Pooh just went into public domain. We could have a Winnie the Pooh character. Just as long as it didn't look like the Disney one. Oh, it was in. That's awesome. Bomb Squad compatible with Steam Workshop. Maybe that could be cool. I need to like learn the technical details of Steam Workshop. I like that idea in general though, of, you know, people being able to earn some money by making cool stuff for the game. So like if integrating with Steam Workshop would let people do that, then I'm all for it. I'd have questions in terms of like how would that work, like because a big part of 1.8 is going to be like asset downloads and things like that, where stuff will be stored on in the cloud and the game will automatically download it. So I'm curious like how that would interact with like stuff made with Steam Workshop. You know, if Steam Workshop stuff would have to be installed through Steam Workshop, or, you know, it could somehow like take that stuff and make it available for everyone through the cloud stuff, or, you know, technical questions there. But in general, I do like that idea of, you know, I'd love to be able to, you know, set up a system where people can make stuff and make a little money off of it. Oh yeah, map contest. Any sort of contest. This would be fun. Like, I know we were talking about like bot contests last week, you know, like people coming up with different AIs and pitting them against each other, or map contests or whatever. So much fun stuff to do, so little time. I need to hurry up on 1.7.20, so then I can hurry up on 1.8, so then I can hurry up on 1.9, so then finally have 2.0. Official Discord RPC when? Well, I mean, I definitely like the code we were looking at earlier. I'd love to take a closer look at that. And I think my gut says like a good time to integrate that would be when squads mode starts coming together. Because as I mentioned before, squads mode will basically be like the whole new like play paradigm where, you know, it's kind of like a modern net play experience where we have a simple way to just, you know, invite friends with a code or a friends list or all of the above, or through Discord, you know, being able to kind of form a little squad and then like playing stuff as that squad. Like, you know, like, hey, we want to take on some computers, or hey, we want to play a ladder game, or hey, we want to whatever. So yeah, I just want to get that part of it really working cleanly and well. And so I think having the Discord stuff integrated at that point would be great, just in terms of like, hey, jump in my squad on Bomb Squad. Wait, we can give winners tickets or some stuff in game. Yeah, if you guys are like, again, I know I've been bad at responding lately, but if anyone's organizing a tournament, I'd be happy to, you know, kick you some tickets for the winner or something. as long as you're really organizing a tournament and not just telling me that. It is tricky. That goes into another thing, is like running a game like this. You get random emails from people like, oh, my son just spent $400 on, or not 400, but like, oh, my son just spent like $40 on ticket packs, and like he wasn't supposed to. Like, can you undo that? And so, I try to or whatever, but sometimes I do kind of wonder like is that really apparent? Or is this just like the sneaky way people are able to get refunds for ticket packs? Oh, but anyway, since my internet is working again, yay! So here's my Jenkins server. Going back to boring technical stuff. So so what I spent all day yesterday on was trying to get my old Jenkins server up to my new one. So I'm almost there. See, I only have 2 jobs left on my old laptop in the closet, and most of them are on my shiny new AWS Jenkins server. And then there's a handful of stuff that runs on as GitHub Actions, which is a whole different CI setup. Maybe at some point I will convert more of these to like GitHub CI stuff, but the problem is I'm running a lot of these, and if I think you have to pay for it if you run too many on GitHub. Though I guess I'm paying for the AWS instance that's running this stuff, so But yeah, there's lots of things. Like anytime I check the game in, or anytime I make a change to any of the game, check that into GitHub. It runs all this stuff where it like builds it on Android and Apple versions, runs some various code checks, builds a Linux version, runs a few different test runs, and a Windows version. So it's a great way to like see what I break very quickly, which is nice. It almost feels like I'm like pressing compile for like all platforms at once, which is kind of cool. All right, well, looks like we're coming up on 2 hours. So anyone have any last topics or thoughts or questions or something? Then we'll wrap up in a few minutes. And then hopefully next week I will have 1720, at least a rough version of it for folks. I have no more trips, like I said, coming up for at least a few months. So hopefully it'll be like a good chunk of productive work time.
Hello, Eric.
Hello.
You can, before you leave, you can show some of the features of the Discord rich presence.
Oh, okay. Show some of the features, like how
download it and...
Wait, what's that?
I'm saying download the Discord rich presence and put it in the mods folder.
Oh,
launch the game.
I might do that next time, or I'll save that for later. I feel like I'm so bad at like doing like live tech stuff. Unless how about let's do that first thing next time. I'll just give it a whirl. There's always a chance that like my setup is weird, especially because my current build is like messed up. I guess I have an old build here, but yeah, how about let's remind me first thing next time. We'll give that a whirl, or I'll give it a whirl offline here. So
Okay.
All right, so we'll plan on a rich presence demo next time, and then potentially also Explodinary 2.2, 2.3. What are you going to be at, Sock? 2.1. Oh, I thought you said 2.2, or are you beta testing 2.2? Okay. Cool. So yeah, 2.1. So yeah, it gives us a few little things we can do next time. You have it already? Oh, what do you have? Like, can you screen share or something real quick? Or all right, go for it. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it, which is part of the reason I was wanting to like say let's do it first thing next time. I can familiarize myself a little bit with stuff. Is that oh well, yes, this is in fact coffee. This is my traditional coffee mug, by the way, if any Zelda fans out there. So yeah, my brother got me this for my birthday a few years ago or something. Hello, Dark Lord. Cool, all right, so we might have some Discord-rich presence stuff to take a look at here, but if not, like I said, we can schedule that first thing next time. Oh, sure. All right, I will hop in there. Burr, burr, burr. When I find it. Oh, okay. Flying Bomb Squad, cool. That's a thread. Okay, where are threads? I'm totally like not familiar with this whole like fancy schmancy thread thing. Where do I go for that? Eric, you can just click. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's cool. So yeah. Oh wow. So is the time elapsed. That's pretty nifty. So I guess, so this is just like rich presence. It's just like showing where you are in the game. Does this deal with anything like invites or anything like that? Or would that be a separate like API or just a separate part of the API? Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be, because yeah, that's definitely the part that I'd want to get integrated with yeah, squads mode, is like the invites and showing that like you're in a bomb squad or something like that. Oh, it doesn't work? Okay. Well, that's all right. I mean, I'm sure it would be a little bit hard with the current setup. You know, hopefully the squad stuff should be easier. It'll be more like you can issue a command to the server, and that'll just like, hey, this is my ID, and I want to join the squad with this ID, and like that'll just do the thing. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's like I said, that's a bummer about trying to support certain features. Is like, yeah, they work on some platforms but not others, or even within Android, it's like, oh yeah, they'll work on like Samsung but not all the other brands. Or oh, I will. I'll take a pass after we wrap up here. I'll go accept people's invites. I never reject people, I don't think. I'm just a little slow sometimes. Well, anyway, maybe I'll wrap up for now. So I'll go hop into these channels and accept some invites and things like that. But I think I'll cut it off for now, just so the video doesn't run much over 2 hours. Unless anyone has any last minute quick comments. And then yeah, next week we can maybe do more maybe more rich presence exploration stuff, or Explodinary 2.1 or whatever. Sure. Yeah, feel free. Yeah, hit me up. I'll stay here on Discord for a bit. So, all right, folks. Well, it's been fun. Yeah, everyone have a good week, and I will talk to all of you folks next time. So, peace out.